And welcome to another cup of coffee with me, Sandy. And my guest today, you are going to love him. He is one special man. He's been in show business he's been a broadcaster, he's been a television man, he's been every genre of entertainment. He was famous as in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and even today. He is a legend in his lifetime. And I'm just so lucky to be speaking with him again today because he's one of my friends. And this wonderful man is David Diddy Hamilton. Hello, and how are you?
Hello, Sandy. How are you?
I'm just good. I'm so happy to find you because I haven't spoken to you for quite some years, and to have found you, I really am very happy about that. And don't look at me now because usually I don't wear a hat and my viewers don't ever see me with a hat on. So please forgive me.
Okay, tell me the secret. What is hiding under your hat?
Um, it's not curlers. I don't look like Ina Sharple, but I have abused my body by being in the sun for many decades. And sadly, just recently, they cut away a couple of pieces here, which have not healed as yet. So at the moment, I am wearing a hat. And that is my excuse. What's your?
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I had a cancer here, and I've had 26 stitches in my face. I had it cut out, and afterwards, people asked me, "What is that scar on your face?" And I said, it was after a fencing incident in Heidelberg.
Heidelberg. My goodness me. Is that when you were working for the German radio station?
I did actually start in radio in Germany. You're absolutely right. I was doing my national service in the RAF and I was posted to Cologne, which was the home of the British Forces Network radio station. And I went to see the boss there. I'd been a scriptwriter in Civvy Street and I said, "Can you use me as a writer?" He said, "Well, we don't actually employ writers here, but as it happens, we do need somebody to read the football results." So that's how I began. And after a few months of doing that, I said to him, "All this music that you play, Bing Crosby and Peggy Lee, it's fine for the officers, but the troops want rock and roll." I don't think he knew what rock and roll was, but I persuaded him to give me a show on Sunday afternoons, and I started playing I actually had one of the first radio shows to play rock and roll. So I played the music of Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Presley, who was doing his national service at the same time in the US Army in Germany. I think Elvis was in Frankfurt, whereas I was in Cologne. So I didn't actually meet him, but I did play his records. The troops loved it. And the boss of the station was so embarrassed about transmitting this heathen music that he followed it with the speech by the Padre. So the Padre came on and cleansed their sins for listening to this pagan music.
My word. Do you remember the first Elvis Presley record you played?
Well, I can't be sure about that. I would think it was something like probably All Shook Up. That was and of course Elvis was, all over the charts at that particular time. And so, yeah, I would think probably All Shook Up is probably about the first one.
Were you an Elvis fan before, or did you
Oh, yeah.
become one?
I loved all the rock and roll music. I mean, it was the music of my generation. Until then, we'd had our parents' music, songs like "How Much Is That Doggy in the Window" and "Feet Up, Pat Him on the Po-Po." But, rock and roll had energy, it had zest, it made you want to get up and dance. And Elvis, of course, was the king.
Absolutely the king, but you never met him. From
Never met, never met him. No,
met him.
wish I
From
had.
Manchester, from Cologne. I think you went to Manchester because that was where you came from. Is that correct?
Well, I was born in Manchester at a very early age. I was evacuated from there during the war to my grandfather's farm in Sussex, where I live again now. But I went back to Manchester because a job came up in 1960 for a television announcer at ABC Television in Didsbury in Manchester. And I made my television debut in October 1960. And a couple of years later, ABC asked me to interview a new pop group who'd appeared on the scene and had I think one or maybe two hit records. It was a band called the Beatles, and I interviewed them on a program called ABC at Large, along with Brian Epstein, their manager, and Jerry Marsden of Jerry and the Pacemakers, and they sang in the studio. How Do You Do It? They went on to become the first group to have three consecutive number ones. Well, Brian was a joy to interview, and so was Jerry. But the Beatles were a bit more difficult. John Lennon had a rather prickly sense of humor, and I think he regarded me as a sort of posh southerner.
I don't know about being posh because you were always just one of the boys.
Yeah, I was one of the boys, but when I look back on my accent at that time, the thing was that I was a Surrey schoolboy. I went to a grammar school in Surrey, and I was one of the boys. You know what I mean? And then when I decided I wanted to go into broadcasting, I had to learn to speak proper. And I look back at some of the early recordings, and I sound quite posh. I hear myself saying television, "Ooh, television," Whereas I think now I probably don't have any accent at all, but at that time, that's how people spoke. And when you watch the old films, if you watch Talking Pictures TV, where you see the old films,
All the
you
black
hear
and
people say, "I'm just getting big to get married."
white.
That's how everybody talked at that time.
Yeah. How did you get your name of Diddy?
That was at ABC Television, and it was a series called Doddy's Music Box with Ken Dodd, who, of course, was the king of the Diddy Man. And I think he was the one who suggested what happened on the show. They had a lot of pop stars of the day, people like Dusty Springfield, Billy Fury, Matt Monroe, and interspersed with Ken Dodd and a repertory of actors doing sketches, and they needed an interviewer. And I think it was Ken's idea. He said, "What about that chap who does the announcing?" First time we met was on the set during rehearsals when we both realized that he was quite a bit taller than me. And it was then that he called me Diddy David. And in fairness to him, he took me to one side afterwards and he said, "Do you mind me calling you that?" He said, "Because if you mind, I won't do it anymore." And he said, "If you don't mind, I think it'll stick." So I said, "I don't mind. I've been stuck with it now for over 50 years.
And I want to tell you, it has done you no harm. It's done you lots of favors because a lot of people know you as Diddy and not as David, which is a
Yeah,
great.
that at that particular time, it was the first big national television show that I'd been on, and it was a big show. I mean, it went out on Saturday nights on ITV, two series, 1967 and then 1968, and it led to me doing a lot of work with Ken Dodd because when he was doing his personal appearances, people used to say, "Can you bring Diddy David along as well?" So, and he drew enormous crowds. I mean, we would turn up opening supermarkets. I remember we did one in Oldham in Lancashire, and it stopped the traffic. There were about 5,000 people there. He was so enormous because you have to remember that he had been the Variety Club Entertainer of the Year. He'd been number one in the charts with Tears, and he'd done a long sellout season at the London Palladium. So he really was a very big star.
Yeah. And you didn't mind being his little Diddy.
I was very happy to be his little Diddy.
You have gone through many different stations. You've worked at Capitol,
Yep.
um, and you did gold, and
Yep.
you did classic.
No, I didn't do classic. I was asked to do classic, but I didn't know a lot about classical music. And they said to me, "Well, you can pick it up as you go along." They said, we've got pronunciation experts here who can tell you everything." But I didn't feel comfortable about it. So instead of going to classic, I went to a station called Melody FM, which was in London. It was owned by Lord Hanson. And it was like a sort of kind of personal toy of his, really. But it was a very gentle station. And I did the breakfast show there for about 4 years. And I used to read the news as well. So you'd read the news at the top of the hour, and then you didn't say a lot, but it was a very laid back station. But it was very nice people to work for. So yes, I have worked in lots of different parts of the country as well: Birmingham, Nottingham, and recently in Sussex and Surrey, where I live. So yeah, I've worked for a lot of different stations. So many of them, hate to say, are no longer there. So I don't know whether I was a jinx, but some of them are gone.
You're still there. And
I'm still there. Yeah.
absolutely, you did some television, Miss TV, did you not do? Were you not the host for that?
Yes, I compared some beauty contests, Miss TV Times, and others like that, quite a few of them. Of course, the girls were always very tall, and I wasn't. So most of the time, I was looking straight at their boobs, which actually was not a bad job, really, when you think about it.
I want to tell you, you were quids in. You had the best seat in the house.
That's a very good way of putting it.
Going back to the various things that you have done, what have you found that's given you the most pleasure?
Well, I've always loved radio. I was part of the radio generation. I grew up with radio. On the farm where I grew up, where I am again now, we had no television. So the radio was our window to the world. And I used to listen to the people on the radio and think, oh, isn't that wonderful? And then after the light program, I got into Radio Luxembourg, which was a station that played rock and roll music. And the DJ that I heard on there that I really liked was Pete Murray. He had a wonderful voice. He was very funny. And of course, we didn't know what people on radio looked like. But one day I saw a photograph of him in a magazine called Fab 208, which was the Luxembourg wavelength. And he was horse riding in the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg. He's a very handsome chap and very tall in the saddle. And I thought, gosh, what a glamorous job he's got. He goes horse riding and answers his fan mail during the day and plays records in the evening. I thought I'd like to do that. Somehow or other, it happened when I got to Germany. I got that big break, and Pete Murray, I'm glad to say, is now my very good friend. So my hero became my friend, and he's now 96.
No way. What an
Yeah.
incredible man. I had a PR company in London, and I did a PR job for a club that opened up. It was either Mortimer Street or Margaret Street. And he and Shaw came as my guests. And I've just moved house, and I found a picture of the three of us sitting together. But that goes back to
A
the
few years.
80s. Yeah.
Yes, you're talking about Shaw Taylor, of course, and Shaw Taylor, the
Yeah.
Whispering Grass.
Yes.
That was his nickname because he introduced Police 5.
Right.
I used to write his scripts. One of the first jobs I had, he was an announcer, and I used to write his scripts for him. And then later on, I became a television announcer myself. Shaw and I became good pals, and he played a terrible trick on me one night. I was introducing a film starring an American actor called Dana Andrews, and I got him confused with an actress called Dana Winter. And I said, this film stars the lovely Dana Andrews. So the phone rang in my studio, and I picked it up, and it was, well, I didn't know it was Shaw Taylor. It was an American voice saying, Mr. Hamilton, this is Al Cernick. I am a lawyer representing the actor Dana Andrews. He said, I think you've implied that my client is a homosexual. I said, oh, no, no, no. I was wriggling at this point. He said, well, I think you implied that he is effeminate. I said, no. I said, what I was saying was that he was a lovely person. And then suddenly the voice changed to an English voice. It said, got you, you bugger. And it turned out to be Shaw Taylor.
I could just hear him doing it because he had a great wit, he had a very sharp brain, and he was also a prankster. And he pranked you.
He
And
did. But I played pranks on people on television as well. Do you remember Crossroads?
oh, absolutely.
Crossroads was the only television show where the sets moved more than the actors. And the continuity scriptwriter had written a script for me one night, and it said on it, tonight, an actor arrives at the Crossroads Motel. So I delivered the line, and I looked at the clock next to the camera, and I realized I had 3 seconds left. So I added, and not before time. And it resulted in a very angry phone call from Noel Gordon, who was the queen of Crossroads,
Absolutely.
saying, David, I'm very upset with you. What you said about, what was that, Noel? What you just said about my program. So I said, well, Noel, it's what everybody says. So anyway, she was not terribly happy, but I didn't get told off because Crossroads was an ATV show and I was working for Thames, so they didn't really care.
um, that was at Central Television that was being
Yeah, yeah.
recorded.
It became Central. Yeah,
Central,
yeah,
because I would be at Central every Wednesday doing Police 5, and I
yes,
would walk through and still see their sets there. So
yes.
it goes back to my time as well. Um, Other radio stations that you have enjoyed, there was one that you did for Age UK. Tell me about
Yes,
that.
yes. Age UK decided to come into radio. They had a station called The Wireless. They were trying to think what was the best name for a station for seniors, and they thought we'll call it The Wireless because that's what people called it years ago. When I first listened to it, and that ran for a few years. And then sadly, there was, I think, a change of hierarchy at Age UK, and the new boss decided he didn't want to be in radio anymore. So that was the end of that. I also worked for Saga. And again, that was really expanding. We started with a digital station called Primetime Radio, which was a national station. I opened that in 2000. And then after that, FM stations opened up around the country, Birmingham, Nottingham, and I went up to open them for them. And it was going really well, and they were getting more and more stations, building up quite an empire. And then Saga had been a privately owned company, and the owner of it decided that he was going to sell. So he sold up for something like, I think, 1.2 billion people. And the people who bought it wanted the shipping, the insurance, all the other things, but they didn't want a radio store, any radio stations. So they sold them off, and that was the end of that. So when that happens, you have to find a new home.
Yeah. Were you lucky enough to go on any of the Saga cruises?
I did, yes. I did some Saga cruises, and I did actually quite a few. I did some other cruises as well, but certainly I did Saga, and of course they're lovely. Got a couple of new ships now. Did you do Saga cruises or
No,
cruises?
I've never done a Saga cruise. I lectured on the QE2 for 2 months, lectured on crime, but that was my only working job
Yes.
on the cruise lines. But I've been a seafaring lass for many, many, many years. What other cruises did you do? And what did you do on the cruises?
Well, I did different things. In the early days, I did some discos. I remember comparing some fashion shows. And also, I did like guest chats. I would chat. So I'd be interviewed by the ship's entertainment officer, or maybe I would talk, because I do a lot of lunch talks and dinner talks and things like that. So I would talk about my experiences 60 years in broadcasting. And on one of the cruises that I did, I told the entertainment director that I had recently done a rock and roll tour with a band. And I said that I sang at the end of the show, I sang Great Balls of Fire. So she said, "Oh, we'd like that, wouldn't we?" She said to the audience, "We'd like that, wouldn't we?" And they all went, "Oh, yeah." So she said, "Will you sing with our ship's band?" So I said, "Well, I've only sung with one band and I'm not a real singer." So she said, "Well, would you, if we do a rehearsal, will you sing with our band?" So I rehearsed with the ship's band, who are obviously a very good band, but I did Great Balls of Fire, and it sounded, I could hear myself, it sounded like a strangled cat. And I said to the musical director, I said, "We seem to be in different keys." So he said, "Yes, you are singing in B flat." So I said, "A lot of people say that." So he said, "No, that's no problem." He said, "We can play in B flat." So we did it again, and it sounded a bit better. So on the last night of the cruise, it had been a very rocky cruise. The weather was not good. It wasn't the best time of the year, and I had to walk down some steps, which is difficult at the best of times. So I've now got the microphone in my hand. I'm walking down these steps, and I've got the microphone. I'm singing, "You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. Too much love drives a man insane." But as it went on, I sort of enjoyed it, and I thought I've actually got to like this singing thing. So I might sing some more. If you're very lucky, Sandy, I might sing to you.
Oh, would you? What would you sing?
Well, when I was in pantomime, I did Buttons in Cinderella at Bradford, Alhambra, which is a beautiful old theatre. And in the kitchen scene, I sang Smile to Cinderella. Smile though your heart is aching, smile even though it's breaking. And it was after I sang to her that she ran off with the prince.
Do you think the prince is going to come to me now?
Well, just remember the song of the photographer, One Day Your Prince Will Come.
I'm still waiting, Diddy. I've been waiting a very long time, and I have not seen a prince. I've seen many frogs, but not a prince.
So, well, you remember the old phrase, don't you, that before you meet the handsome prince, you have to kiss a lot of frogs.
Frogs. And you know
That's the
what?
old saying.
I think maybe in my lifetime I have done that, but I've got no war.
Well, the only answer is to tell them to hop off.
I have a birthday coming up very soon. Will you phone and sing to me?
I could play you a record on Boom Radio for your
Oh, what a
birthday
good idea.
if you
Would
tell
you
me
play,
when it is.
would you play The More I See You?
Oh, I like that. I tell
That,
you who
that
the
was
version
written by my godfather, Harry Warren.
is it your godfather?
Yes, yes.
Did he wrote that?
Yeah, he wrote that. Was Aldo
Yeah, I tell you the version I love of that is by Chris
Chris
Montez.
Montez. Yeah, me too.
I love
Oh,
that.
yeah. So on the 11th of February, I won't
Wow,
tell you,
okay.
I won't tell you my age.
No, don't do that because a gentleman would never ask a question
No,
like
no,
that.
no. And you have been a complete gentleman. You always have been. And you probably always will be. What a shame.
I am a total gentleman. And the
But in the
thing about
meantime,
a
uh,
gentleman never tells.
it never tells. And it's the same as being in Vegas. What's in Vegas stays in Vegas. So there you go. But you won't forget the 11th of February.
No, I've just written it down. And
Before I,
if I can play the more I see you,
yeah,
I'll have a word
Montez.
I'll have a word with Doctor Music and see if we can fix it for you.
Oh, I'm sure. I shall be listening and I shall be actually waving to you, although you won't be able to see me, but knowing that I
Yes.
will be waving. I've just knocked my desk and my computer has gone completely crazy. So when the studio get it, they'll ask, "What did you do to the set?" And I'll say, "Well, it was my knee because I got so excited."
By the way, I keep seeing a red line coming up at the bottom of this. Is that anything to worry about?
No, no,
No, it's not.
no.
No, it doesn't mean we're being cut off or
No,
anything.
it
No.
doesn't mean that it's
No.
going to be exploded. For me, it's telling me I'm still recording.
Oh, good. Oh, that's good. I'm a technophobe, so I am totally rely on you.
Well, I'll hold your hand all the way through.
Good.
Besides being a broadcaster, television
Yes.
host,
Yes.
presenter,
Mhm.
um, in pantomime, on
Yeah.
ships,
Yeah.
singing, I think you write books as well.
I do. It's funny you should
You
say
got one
that.
to show me?
I just happen to have one here on
Oh,
my
I love
desk,
you.
and it's this. I'm trying to show to you with it in a way that it doesn't shine. There we
The,
are. It's
as is. Hold it still.
it's called The Golden Days of
Golden
Radio
Days of
1.
Radio One. Hot shots
On the cover
and
is the big lineup where at
who's
that
there?
particular time every DJ was a household name. There's Ed Stewart, Dave Lee Travis, Emperor Roscoe, my, have mercy, baby. Uh, Alan Freeman, not off pop pickers. Annie Nightingale, I can't do an impersonation of her. John Peel, Johnny Walker, Terry Wogan, Tony Blackburn, Noel Edmonds, and me. I was very lucky to be part of that lineup. And there's in my book, there's a chapter about each one of those DJs, and a lot of stories about the golden days of Radio One.
That's absolutely beautiful. Who published that book?
It's published by Ashwater Press.
Right.
Uh,
And if people
yeah,
want to buy, can they buy it on Amazon or do they go to Ashwater Press directly?
well, you can buy it on Amazon, but if you buy it from Ashwater Press, I think they are ashwaterpress.com, I think they are, or maybe .co.uk, but whichever. If you buy it through them, then you can get me to sign it for you. And if you want your name on it as well, I can do that too. So the best way is really through Ashwater Press. You can get a signed copy.
Yeah. If any of my viewers would like to make contact with you because they haven't seen you around for a long time, or there's stories here that relate to them, how do they find you?
Well, at Boom Radio, where I do a daily show, I have got an email address, which is davidhamilton@boomradio.co.uk. So it's davidhamilton@boomradio.co.uk. If they email me there, then I will get their message. I could even play them, like you, a nice record on the radio.
Oh my goodness me. Now let's just end with Boom Radio. Boom Radio, if my memory is correct, is a young radio station, but with baby boomers as the broadcasters. Is that correct?
Uh, yes, Boom Radio launched on Valentine's Day last year, so it's coming up to its first birthday. And I had a call a few months before that from the people running it. It was a very bad time because, we had lockdown here and I had so many things that were being cancelled. And out of the blue, they said, look, we're launching a radio station for baby boomers. We're calling it Boom Radio. Would you like to be involved? Everybody is broadcasting from home. So I said, well, I don't actually have a home studio. So they said, that's no problem. We can build you one. So they gave you a microphone. Here's my microphone.
Okay.
They gave me a pair of headphones. Here they are.
Right.
All the music is on the computer, the one that I'm talking to you on. And as you say, we launched nearly a year ago, and the music is all very much for the baby boomers. So it's an audience that's been really neglected up until now, and the response we have had has been fantastic. And so many people are enjoying it and loving it, and say we now don't listen to any other stations. So it's great.
It's the music that we remember. I certainly remember the music, and it makes me feel warm and happy. And I know that there must be a lot of people in the same vein, that they want to have memories that they enjoy, especially in this time, because things are so fragile and we're going back to think about happy things. And music is always happy. Music has always got a story. Uh,
Yeah, that's right. A lot of people ask for records that mean something, especially to them, have great memories for them. So we like to play the records and the memories. But no, you're right. The great thing about radio now is that it's no longer in one area. It's no longer, as far as the transmitter reaches, radio now can reach anywhere in the world. So you can pick up Boom Radio on the internet. There's so many different ways you can get it. You can get it on your phone. I'm not a technical expert by any means, but there are lots of ways that you can hear it. I mean, how do you hear it here where you are?
I hear it through my computer. And
Yes,
also I've downloaded it onto my phone. So
yes,
in my car, I hear it from my phone, and at home, I've got it on the computer. And I must be very honest, I seem to listen to you more than everybody else. But maybe that's, again, bringing back lovely warm memories from many years
yeah,
back of a friendship.
yes,
The same as you are doing this from home, I'm doing this from my office, but
yes.
this program is going to be seen worldwide. It goes to America via Roku. It's You can do it on your download on your smartphone, on your tablet. It's Air TV International. Everybody can see it. And now Amazon on the new Windows 11. So
Oh, great.
it's snowballed
No,
everywhere. There isn't a place that it cannot be seen. So you're
no.
going to be seen all over the world.
Fantastic. Well, that's like I was saying about radio, you can broadcast to anywhere now. And that's great that you're doing that. How long have you been doing it?
This has been going for, I should imagine now it's about 7, 8 years.
Oh, a long time.
A long
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
So
I've got a girlfriend in New York, and she phoned me the other day and she said, I've just seen one of your programs on Roku. I get Roku. And I said, well, I'll
ah,
be. And
Yeah.
the
So you
first,
never know where it's going to turn up, do you? You've had a lot of coffee break guests in that time. You've drunk a lot of coffee.
I've had a lot of coffee here in this mug, but no, not in this mug. I just broke my mug yesterday, which had cup of coffee with Sandy and guest. Do you have a mug that you use
Yes.
constantly or was
Uh,
given?
th- I- This is my mug, and there's my mug on it. Look, can you see?
I can
And
see.
this was my T3 mug at Radio 1. So on here it says BBC Radio 1,
Right.
and on the other hand, in my writing, it says join the afternoon people. And that was tea at 3. Everything stops for tea. And that was one of the tea mugs that I've still got from that time. So today it's a coffee mug, and I'm drinking coffee with you.
Yeah. And I want to tell you, I have enjoyed our coffee so much. Have you enjoyed it?
I've enjoyed it very much
Have
indeed.
we left out anything that you would like to still tell us about?
No, I don't think so. I think you've covered things extremely well.
Well, I have loved it. I've enjoyed it so much. And I know that my listeners are going to hear, my viewers are going to see, and everybody will know that David Diddy Hamilton did have a cup of coffee with Sandy. He was her guest. And I want to say thank you. And I hope it's not the last time I see you, because the more I see you, the more I want you. Somehow this feeling
That's your favorite song.
grows.
Just grows and grows.
I've never sang to anybody.
I'm
And
very
now
honored.
I've just sang to you.
I'm very honored.
Well,
Well,
I feel the same way about having spent time with you this afternoon. So thank you. Take care. Look after yourself. Please do me a favor and stay safe. Look
I'll
after,
do my best. I'll
okay?
do my best.
And in the meantime, God bless. Bye bye for now. Take care and thank you.
Bye.
Bye.